I completely agree with you. And just to begin with, if we talk about, for instance, the third generation mobile telephony, not the second, not the fourth, only the third, no power lines, no computer, only these, and we ask ourselves, how much more radiation are you affected by today than for like 10 years ago? What is the increase? Is it 2 times the natural background? Is it 3 times, maybe 4 times? No, the answer is a quintillion times. That's a 1 with 18 zeros. So the increase in radiation exposure compared to natural background is more than biblical. I mean, it's hard to even understand what that means, you know. So the electrosmog that it's called in Germany, it's dense, you know. And then people have started with, and this is a long story, but we can talk more about that later on. There are recommendations. And from a legal point of view, as far as I understand, they are only recommendations. If you violate them, nothing happens. It's just an indicator what you should aim for. And these are then, as I say, a quintillion times higher. And they are based on fluid-filled plastic dolls. Not on human beings, not on cats or dogs, not on plants, nothing like that. And it's a purely technical issue. And therefore, I have, together with other scientists, for many years, claimed that we must have biologically based exposure guidelines. And I'm the only one in the world who has gone one step further. I have said that we need to have, based upon law, what we in Sweden would call hygienic safety standards. And I have proposed that we should use the natural background, meaning that these systems will not work, of course, but then we will be safe. Then your kid will not be harmed in the school. And instead of using this wireless electrosmog based, we can have a shielded wired cable to a computer, for instance, in school, and the information will be the same. The games and the colors and the words, and nothing will change. And you know, my wife, she's a daycare center teacher with small children, and she has listened to me, and in her daycare center they are not allowed to have any computers or tablets or mobile, nothing like that, you know. And she also says that from a pedagogic point of view, she's not very impressed by these things. And you know, there are very interesting studies when small children start to learn to write letters. They do like this, and while the hand is moving, it's imprinting on the brain. So the brain learns how an A looks like, or an O or an L. But if you do like this, then the imprint will be the same. A K and a T and an O will look the same, and your learning is decreased. And scientists have shown in very well done studies that the learning, short-term memory and concentration capacity is decreased when you are exposed in double-blind exposures to these electromagnetic fields. Again, pointing to that, what are we doing? Down the road, will there be parents and children growing up who will be angry, actually, and will say, why did you do this? Didn't you listen to these experts? There were choices you could have made. The odd society. You should come there and look, you know. It's a very strange society. Because we have a rollout of wireless systems everywhere. Every child should have it, and every politician, every person, you know. At the same time, we have a group called electro-hypersensitive people, and they are protected by law as a group with a functional impairment or disability or handicap. And the most important principle for people with disabilities is the principle that they should, and I quote the United Nations, they should live an equal life in a society based on equality, meaning accessibility. And you roll out something that they don't like. So it's a very odd situation. And I have tried to get people with electrohypersensitivity to be a little bit tougher, you know. Swedes are very, very low key, you know. You hardly notice a Swede in a room, you know. And they never say anything, and they are very sort of silent. And but I told them, you have to say no more of this, you know. And a few people are starting more and more. But at the same time, you have this massive rollout. And I have written to the Swedish government and parliament, and I have asked them to send me the documentation that clearly shows that it is safe to expose people 24/7. And so far, after 30 years, I have not got a single sentence, not a word, not a comma or period, nothing back, you know. And because, you know, I'm like a fire brigade soldier. If this is safe, then I want to go to Africa and help people with Ebola or something like that. I should be used where I could do best good. And but they refuse to send anything, which is also telling, because because we know, of course, there isn't anything to send. They don't have any counter arguments, and therefore they don't send anything, you know. So that's an interesting situation. And in Sweden, you have this accessibility problem. We do have places and areas, and people with this handicap, they could get, for instance, an electro-sanitized car, so they could drive around. But at the same time, they have to be in this society. And I mean, when you sit in here, you are exposed at levels that even for a scientist is hard to really understand. I mean, the exposure levels are astronomical, and more so. And someone has decided it's safe, and we can never see who decided this and what did they do, and so on. It's secret always, you know. And at the same time, you know, I'm stressed because every morning when I get to my work, my computer looks like a pregnant woman. You know, it's so many new papers that has been published since yesterday, so I cannot keep track any longer. They're just raining like rain on top of here, and all pointing in the same direction. This is not good for people, animals, plants, bacteria, and so on, you know.
Yes, it's like this. But
and you know, just to interrupt you shortly, if we would, you know, if I would do like this, and all the mobile phones and tablets and so on would disappear, nothing would happen. Scientists know that one thing would happen: the so-called psychosocial health in society would start to increase again, because people would start to talk to each other instead of via machines. And the first thing I would say was, you know, sorry, my mobile phone has gone missing. And you would say, oh, that's odd. Mine has also disappeared. But we still have to breathe, eat, sleep, learn, work, and go by transport. Nothing would change. And therefore, I mean, like in schools, what's the big drama to use a shielded, wired system? It's exactly the same information. So...
Yes, I think that's personal opinion that we should change the methods of learning in the school.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. Yeah, completely. And now more and more science is supporting you, actually. Yes.
But it's not just a problem with schools.
Of course not.
Even if we solve the problems in schools,
yes.
What about houses, and not only houses?